Hello and welcome. Andy here from Twisted Narrative, and once again we are about to dive into times undreamed of using Shadowdark as our system. But before we do that, let us introduce our wonderful players. We'll start off at the top left, Natasha.
Hi, I'm Natasha. I'm Dutch, playing from the Netherlands. I've been playing several games for the past 8 years or so. Quite liking it, and Shadowdark is very interesting to play for me because it plays a bit quicker than Dungeons and Dragons. There's more interaction with the players as well.
Yeah, it's I'm loving Shadowdark, as many of our viewers sort of know. I keep harping on about it, and it I think it really for the setting, the times undreamed of setting, I think it's the perfect system to keep that sort of tension and sense of dread up, that every move that you make could be critical. Um, Move across to the top right, and Matt.
Hello, I'm Matt, player of Shadowdark and D&D and other things as well, and co-writer with Andy of some adventures that you may have already watched and can also play yourself. Thoroughly enjoying Shadowdark and unnerved about what's going to happen next.
Well, it was a bit of a cliffhanger, and we'll come on to our publications in a minute because I've got a little bit of an advert. But last but not least, we move down to Malcolm.
Thank you, Andy, and good evening all. Yes, regular on the channel for Shadowdark, loving the system, love the simplicity, lets you play the story, gets out of the way when it should, but is a great way of building tension throughout each of the games that we've encountered. So,
Yeah,
as Matt says, what's next?
indeed. So before we go on to that, first and foremost, if you are enjoying Times Undreamed of, the series, as it were, really, we've got a number of other sort of videos. This is kind of a mini campaign sprawling into probably a full campaign. You can watch those on catch up on VODs on YouTube, but also myself and Matt here have been putting pen to paper, and we've started publishing them on drive through. So I've just kind of, this is the very first one, Beneath the Arena of Blood. It's been creative with Shadowdark in mind, but can be used for anything from OSRs right through to modern systems such as Pathfinder 2 and Dungeons and Dragons 5e. If you don't mind sort of tweaking and adding the things, we're both very proud of it. You can check it out on drive through. If you like this feel of Hyperborean Age, please check it out. There are many other supplements, and we're kind of trying to do sort of one every month, 6 weeks or so, sort of following on with this campaign. And you get to see all the bits that the players actually missed. And in transparency, whilst Matt is my co-author, he's doing these blind, so we're working behind the material that Matt plays. He has no idea, and I think that lends a strength to the writing, a degree, in the fact that he gets a player perspective from what they see. So anyway, please check it out. Without further ado, we kind of really do need to roll things back. It's been a little while. Perhaps we needed that time for one of our protagonists fell last session. Hired to engage into a tower occupied by the Tallow Man. Our adventurers went through the Gardens of Death, laced with the dreaded and dreadful blooms of the Black Lotus, stocked with large cats, panthers, to stalk out. They made it to the tower, up into the tower. They explored it, finding a gem of great value, but of strangeness, but not spending a huge amount of time examining it. They carried on their search for the Tallow Man, for their job was grisly. This was assassination, murder in mind. For the Tallow Man was a great evil, and his deeds were about to catch up with them. But hubris struck the party, and in a moment of glory, a door was kicked open and combat ensued. Not against the Tallow Man, but one of his associates, a Karasiri, fat, sucking the vampire of sorts. It was brutal, it was terrible, and Roger fell. In strategic retreat or blind panic, depends how the bards, the skalds, will tell that tale. They retreated back through the gardens over the wall, and scantily catching their breaths, the cooler night air of Ibaihor really sobers them up. This is where we currently find Thorsten and Drago. Maybe trembling, maybe with fear, or just adrenaline, maybe panic, or the desire to perhaps go to the flesh pits and partake of some of their heady drugs. It is not for me to say, though. It is for those that control those characters. So, for the moment, we're going to give you the luxury of not being initiative order. One of the mechanics of Shadowdark is you can have conversations. You can decide what your next move is going to be.
Andy, point of order question.
Yep.
I think we are level 2 officially.
Yep.
I still need to roll hit dice for my new character.
We'll come to that when we meet you.
Cool.
So, I mean, the silence says it all, really. Apart from you're on mute as well, Thorsten. But you look at each other, almost stuck for words.
That didn't go well.
No, and we are effectively upon a ticking clock and need advice.
Well, I think we have the fee, if nothing else.
The recovered gem to return to the toad.
We need to gather our wits and get some idea of what's next.
Do you think Vegeta would have an opinion on our best next move? She might not want this now returned directly to the toad.
I think it's probably worth explaining that it's not as simple as get in, kill him, and get out again, because we've just tried that and it didn't work.
Yeah. And
it feels like, yeah, it's get in touch is probably the right move. And I think check in with her before we make our delivery to the toad feels like the right. Because I feel like of the friends that we want, she's the stronger of the two. For all that he might be useful. Okay. GM, do we have any, like, a contact point or a place or anything where we can go to meet up with or get word to Vegeta?
Oh, absolutely. With everything that you've done so far, descending down, getting the diary of her grandmother, you have earned a good deal of favour with her, and partaking in this mission. Absolutely. They do not call themselves the Red Masks yet. It is far too early to even presume to take on that level of politics within the wet. But they have a residence within the wet itself. a small, nondescript place, and you certainly know the address. It is where she is slowly but surely courting many of the gangs of this place of scum and villainy.
Yeah, and then I think that's where we head.
Yeah.
As cautiously and carefully as we can, making sure that if we can remove any signs of our entry, we do, as best possible, at least.
Mhm.
You look at this, and the only thing that can go through your heads is the last time someone stole, well, this exact gem, the repercussions of which was the Tallow Man found out who it was and eradicated them from this world and quite possibly others.
Mm.
You do not even think that simple trappings left behind are going to help you. As Thorson said, the clock is ticking. Uh, you don't even know if there's any true distance you can run to to get out of reach of this individual. But one step at a time, you make it from the Delirium, the upper class district of spires, of uh, not so much nobles. They call themselves nobles, and they
Mhm.
might be nobles exiled from many of the other Shining Kingdoms, but they are people of politics and primarily wealth that can afford this district and enjoy their drug-induced dreams. Hence the name this quarter is called Delirium. The streets get ever narrower, the eyes peering out at you ever more voracious. But you make it safely to the wet warrens, place where all this begun, and to this very nondescript house. You give the knock. Uh, Words are said at the door and opened, and uh, it is akin to a squat, really. There are a number of different ne'er-do-wells here, having conversations, playing dice, and proceeding over it all is a slip of a girl, really, Vegeta. Uh, Not lording it over them, but kind of watching with hawk-like eyes at every gesture, every movement, every roll of the dice. As she smiles, a smile quickly fades, though, as if she reads the worry upon your faces, your countenances. The words that almost count out, "Is it done?" evaporate. Ah, this is not good.
No.
Can we talk in private, please?
These have pledged themselves to the cause. They are with us till death. This is how we are. We are brothers, we are sisters in our endeavour.
And an significant choice of words.
Hmm.
We are short our party member here. She sees that we have a corpse in tow is not quite the right word. To be interred. Do we have a space that we might prepare or perform whatever rites she would require?
This is appropriate. We would not wish for one of our own to not be interned in a way that they would not have liked it. Do you know what their wishes would have been?
Uh,
You would have known it was a more of a party than a morning. He was a bard after all.
Raise the ale high, I think, and
Well.
say good words after
Mhm.
the body is laid to rest.
That we can do. But I guess with do not take this word to heart, but your failure in your endeavour. We rapidly face a repeat of what happened to my grandmother.
This is why we wanted to speak with you first as soon as we could, to warn, but also to seek guidance as to what happens next. The,
First, sorry, you go.
the way in was challenging enough, but we found a location, probably the location, but it is inaccessible by any means we had and
Mhm.
that I can think of. And would then give a bit more detail of the fact that it was a very small drop into a shaft, like virtually inaccessible to anybody who is not Talaman,
Yes.
and would kind of give a bit of scope of the problem that we had and that we faced.
She nods. She says, "Let us deal with your comrade." She looks around the room. Jasmine, your help.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
Jasmine, what do you look like?
Jasmine stands up from the table where she was playing dice and is quite tall, easily reaching 6 feet. She's got bright orange spiked hair, has a shield and a sword on her back, and wears a leather armor that leaves her very well defined and muscled arms bare. You also notice that she's not been skipping leg day, unlike Roger. And basically um, saunters over. It's not like she doesn't look anything like military or discipline. Not anything from that background. This is street kid all over.
Perfect. Um, Jasmine, this is Drago Thorsten. We need you to help them take this body, ensure that it is taken to. There is a shrine not far from here. They owe us some favours. They will ensure that the body will be interned. There will be rites said so that the spirit cannot be manipulated, the bones and the flesh cannot be used. They will at least find rest. Then, and she throws a bag of coins to you, buy ale and bring it back here tonight. We drink, we celebrate their life, and then tomorrow we all go to work. So, there's a little bit of a montage. The body is carried in turn. Rites are said. It is up to yourselves how you feel about this. Ale is purchased, and you drink and celebrate the deeds of your fallen comrade. Uh, Ever knowing though that that clock, like a heartbeat, is boom boom, boom boom, boom boom, and at some point very soon it is going to be stopped by the tallow man. So, thoughts. This is a recap for you. Some of the things that you were told in the last adventure that you might have kind of misheard or perhaps not taken full attention of. There was a lot going on, a lot that happened. But as you talk amongst yourselves and begin to sort of try and work out some kind of way, I believe that you took the gem.
Mhm.
You took the books as well, is that correct?
Yes, yes, because which gave us some info on the Karasiri initially, but I think I just took everything,
Yeah.
or as much as I could get to then study later. And I think that's probably what Drago would do rather than getting fully drunk, would be kind of perusing and seeing what else is to be found in there.
Interesting, Drago. Correct me, you're a priest, aren't you?
I am.
A priest who would prefer not to follow the wishes of a dead man, but perhaps look after their own skin. Are you not taking
A
part in
priest who is endeavouring more to ensure that their ally did not lose their life in vain, I think, is more the focus.
I bow to that. I bow to that, absolutely. Yes.
Because my deity is the mystery, is mysteries and secrets. So
Perfect. To our viewers, I like to bait our players, see if I can unsettle them, make them make mistakes. So, yes, you kind of search through these books, and without a doubt, the Tallow Man's main interest. I mean, it's broad. He is a powerful sorcerer, someone to truly be feared. But his main interest seems to be this chiromancy, this magic of wax, and using it in numerous different ways. Beyond that, though, you remember something that I mentioned in passing, that there was a wax effigy in one of the chambers, not the chamber with all the dioramas, but down in the more private chambers. And that wax effigy was of someone you recognized, not personally, but a very prominent individual, someone called the Dark Duke. His name or first name is Arcades. A formidable individual, exiled from his land, uh, some kind of argument between brothers. He should technically be the monarch of that kingdom. But he took his flagship, this massive warship, and sailed away, currently residing in Ibaihor. He is known to be a warrior, but also a sorcerer. Um, the main point is that his wax effigy was there, and it's a little akin to finding a voodoo doll of someone in a sort of priest's or sorcerer's chambers. There is quite possibly ill intent from the Tallow Man towards him. Maybe with the sympathetic magics that you are reading, anything from blackmail or even coercion, being able to manipulate this individual. You get the feeling that unpleasant magics are being worked against this individual. So, whilst this individual has a fearsome reputation, the information could buy you an ally that has sorcerous powers.
yeah. Interesting.
Beyond that, unfortunately, the only other thing that you are aware of is you have this jewel of Nidinami. You haven't fully examined that. I think you grabbed it and kind of chucked it into the bag. Did anybody look into it particularly?
Thorsten, you were the one who was dealing with it because it was locked into a thing, wasn't it? So
Yeah, it was. We definitely got an impression that there is a creature bound within it.
Yeah.
Um,
So
we
you
didn't learn a lot from the Karasiri, but she was quite clear that this is a thing of danger and significance to the Tallow Man. We know the story of what happened, as you say, when it was last stolen from him. And I think that would be something Thorsten would like to have take an opinion upon from Vagita during the evening. Is she happy that this goes to the Toad? I think we need to get it out of our possession as soon as possible, would have been Thorsten's thrust, for want of a better phrase. But just checking that there's no good reason for us to keep it.
She sighs. Our job, our task, your task, but I count us all together here. What you do is an extension of me. Was to slay the Tallow Man. Without his death, we cannot lift the curse off my grandmother, and we cannot reform the Red Masks. This jewel, it sounds dangerous. If my grandmother stole it and it was what they used to find the Red Masks, I think Tuza the Toad, has played a dangerous game. I think he was counting on you succeeding in your slaying of the Tallow Man, and therefore not have any repercussions. I would say let him have what he wants. It will give him the payment and certainly pay for your accounts. Now, he might not want it or might have to do something with it, but that is his business, not ours. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah. It was certainly Thorsten's intent to follow through on the deal that he'd struck, but taking wisdom from multiple sources, not something he's against. So.
As long as Tuzo was not tasked you with the slaying of the Tallow Man, you have done nothing to fail him. Therefore, he has got everything he wished for. But there is, as you know, that phrase, careful what you wish for.
He may find the repercussions of his desires are dire.
Well, he is a loathsome and slippery individual. No doubt he will understand everything. He will not, he cannot cause any harm to you through it. You have stuck to your words, but it will cause him issues, no doubt. But that is not our problem, that is his. You are someone down, and if you wish to carry on, I mean, I hate to say it, but we are all here now, and this needs to be done. We need to find, we need to act upon the information that you have discovered, find a way to access his protections, and we must try again, for it is either we get to him first now or he gets to us. Jasmine,
Yeah.
you have proven yourself a number of times where there's been no need for you to prove yourselves. Drago and Thorsten here are in need of a blade and some aid for the masks. Would you do this for me?
Yeah, because you asked nicely and because I know you're going to pay me eventually. So, yeah, sure.
We will all reap the riches of our actions. And I always ask nice. Only once, but I always ask nice.
Yeah, no, that's why I always say yes.
Now, careful, if you think that Jasmine's blade is sharp, her tongue is even sharper. The words, quite frankly, I had to speak to Boreas about. I didn't understand the meaning of many of them. I wished I hadn't have asked Boreas.
That's because your bleeping didn't bleep up on the street. Bleep.
Yes, the foulish language that you could probably ever expect to heard pour out of Jasmine's mouth.
It's not bleeping, foul bleeping language. It's just normal bleeping language.
You're going to make a mistake and get the bleep mixed up with a real word. But I look forward to it. Okay, so she indicates the urgency. You need to get some answers. You've got a couple of leads here. Where would you like to take it? I mean, the celebration has gone on. It
Sure,
is the
yeah.
following day now, unless there's any extra things you wish to request or ask during that time.
Would only ask, with having looked through the book and made this connection to potentially the this Arcades figure, would see whether Nagita or Nagita has any guidance on how we might potentially get in touch, or whether that might be something she would be better placed to do. But kind of raise that as an avenue we should almost certainly follow, and get guidance on how.
She nods her head. His warship is like a fortress. I have no political power here. In fact, we haven't even mentioned the names as yet, so I cannot be of any aid.
Would it be incalculably unwise if us, or perhaps just me, walk up to the front door and ask?
You have information. Information is sought after. It will go one of two ways. Either you won't leave the ship, or you will have persuaded him that the Teleman is a threat.
Yes.
But this is the dangers we tread, and quite often overthinking, taking too long to decide on a course of action, is substantially worse than
Yes.
just doing something.
Okay. I think my instinct, my gut says, go deliver to Tuza.
Yeah.
And then go and knock on the front door of a warship.
Worst case scenario, we're nowhere near the gem at that point, and if we're inside the boat, if it's a fortress, I'll take that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that
Um,
feels like the sensible approach, if
Yeah,
such
I
a thing
don't
exists.
think we want to tell Tuza that we know that the Dark Duke Arcades figurine
No.
exists.
No.
Let's separate the two.
Yes, I think we make that delivery, and we try and we get confirmation that we're square.
Yeah.
And leave it at that. Yeah, and then do our best to ensure we're not followed, and then go.
Yeah.
That way. That feels like a rough plan. And Jasmine, welcome to the team, I suppose.
Oh yeah, thanks. I'll try to be a bleeping good help for you guys.
Well, I'm sure it will be fine. Good. Well, let's
So as
let's
you move on to the kind of adventure proper, this being a epilogue from the previous one, let us quickly do a little bit of game admin. First and foremost, it's a new adventure. You've all got one luck point, as which happens at the start of every adventure. Jasmine, you said you wanted to roll some hit dice. Just for the viewers, what class are you?
It's a fighter, so it's going to be a D8.
Yeah.
And as if I remember correctly, having done it once for poor Roger already, you don't do the Constitution modifiers to it. It's just the dice.
You do it on the first roll. Your first level you do get, and then the second level you don't. Oh,
wow.
dear. What is your Constitution modifier?
-1, but it doesn't count since it is the second roll. Or do you want me to roll the first one too?
That's fine. So you just got 2. What did you roll for your first one?
An 8, fortunately, so it turned out to be
Okay.
7.
Which out to be 10, which is
But if you want, I can re-roll the first one again.
there is no need to re-roll it. I am more than happy. If you've got -1 though, your 8 would have been 7, so you'd be on
Yep.
9. Perfect. Anything else that you need to ask about your character before we get going? Anything
No,
else?
for me, that's it. She's
Yeah.
basically got
Perfect.
basic gear, and that's it.
So, for those of you who want to know Twos of the Toad is, I recommend you go and watch one of the previous live streams. We're not going to re-encounter that. He is very divided, overly joyed that you have brought him the gem, but he's beginning to hear that the Talaman is still alive, takes the gem off you, cancels your accounts. But for the first time, he looks nervous. Of course, you're not entirely sure where you are meeting him. Once again, you have had rough sacks over your heads. But the meeting is short, a little too short, as he is definitely concerned that he has got the thing that he wanted. Careful what you wish for. Very rapidly, you return to the streets of the wet. To go about your business. So, how do you want to approach this warship?
Jasmine
So,
suggests we just go knock on the bleeping door.
and yeah, that's very much where my my brain is as well. Yeah, so I think what's the I think leaving, we would endeavour as best we could to kind of ensure that we're not being followed by anybody in particular, but make our way to, I assume, the docks or wherever this warship is.
Yeah.
Um,
Ibayor is kind of on a large inland sea. It's where most of the trade seems to come from. The surrounding terrain to the south of Ibayor is desert. It's scorched lands. So this is really the main route in and out of the city if you don't want to make the long journey across the dunes.
then we would head to the docks and to the ship, and yeah, basically endeavouring to do whatever the shipbound equivalent of going and knocking on the front door is. We would go and find whoever's the sort of the door, the gatekeeper or whatever, and approach them.
So
Might,
first, yeah, sorry, go.
I was just thinking it might not be wise to partake of a drink at a dockside inn and inquire or let people know that we are wishing to approach the ship.
I would bow to that as an idea.
Yeah, I think Thorsten, knowing the ins and outs of being a thief, the criminal underworld, and perhaps more of the city, brazenly walking up to the door is certainly one approach. It's not the one he would pick.
Then happy to be convinced otherwise.
Yeah, so he looks for the most likely dock that somebody coming off this warship who partakes of the
Okay.
drink might be
So
found.
first and foremost, most of the ships, a lot of the cargo ships, which are large in size, are able to sort of dock next to the harbour, basically, and gangplanks are coming off. You kind of walk through this scene. There are riches, spices, cloths, from right across all of the Shining Kingdoms, and even further afield from Dahlia, far to the frozen south. It's a hubbub of different nations all coming together to offload and to load. Um, The warship, though, you can see clearly, is too big to actually dock. It's out in one of the big harbours. You can see that it's large masts. It's also strange whether it is painted ashen black or whether it is actually dark iron sort of mixed in amongst the hull. It has a ferocious appearance, but it's fairly easy to see that they have small rowboats that would be lowered down to come ashore and back again. Asking around is interesting. What is your charisma, Thorsten?
13, a modifier of +1.
Give us a 2d6 roll, please. This is to see how things. You can add your charisma modifier. I'm modifying this somewhat because you have dealt with thieves before. Oh dear. That is a 3 on the reaction chart. Even with your modifier and the fact you rapidly sort of start getting the suspicion that there is a word on the street. They're looking for individuals that kind of semi-match your descriptions. There's nothing certain, nothing that instrumentally starts something, but you begin to have one or two conversations and just go, no, I think we probably best not do this. It seems that there is someone looking for information about a theft that went on last night. Already beginning to spill. This is only the dock area. Most of the rogues are in the wet. This is making it very difficult for you to move around. But the good news is that whilst questions are being asked, there's no certainty at the moment that they know who it was. But that heartbeat, that clock, is getting faster. Boom, 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 boom.
Then perhaps we go to ground for a day. A week if it takes it. All I'm thinking is we rid ourselves of the gem. They can't describe us directly. Otherwise they'd take action for whatever reward. Is there any clue to whom is asking the question?
Not at the moment. Not at the moment. It's one of those things that is kind of a vagary, which is why you're not necessarily under suspicion, but the last thing that you want is for pieces to be put together and you to be in this place. In many ways, you think quite the opposite. You need to not wait. At some point, once this more mundane search for you doesn't reveal anything, there is little doubt that the Tallow Man will delve into his sorcerous ways to try and find the information. It is more costly, more dangerous, but tends to reveal good results.
Then unfortunately I think we do have to be bold and brave. We wait for a rowboat coming from the warship and ask to be returned to it with an urgent matter for the Duke.
Yeah.
And just hope to ratchet up the tension a bit with his crew, as it were.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we attempt to explain perhaps to Jasmine that we have put ourselves in a spot of bother and risk is
I
upon us.
didn't bleeping steal any bleeping anything.
That might be true.
But if you want, I can row you out there. You all both seem to be a little lacking in the muscle department.
That
Yep.
would be helpful. Are we able to either borrow or acquire or make use of a boat?
How would you like to try and do this? The answer is yes. You, I think, got some personal coin. You could try and just steal a boat, as in
I would
borrow it.
like I would like to try and uh, rent one from a relatively friendly-looking
Yeah.
dock person and endeavour to persuade them to give me a decent price.
This is the dock area. It's not the wet. This is Ibai Hall, but people are here to do business, and the best kind of business is repeat business. So um, you offer a small bag of coin, which I'm assuming you've got. Do you say you just want to borrow it for an hour or so to go out to the ship? Do you literally tell them we're just going over there and we'll come back?
I would just say we have business on board one of the ships, and we'll return it to you as soon as we can. I don't anticipate it being more than a couple of hours at most.
Seems fine. They take your bag of coin and you have hired yourself a boat. Um, One assumes, give me a charisma roll, which might not be good for you. It might be. So this is charisma check.
So,
The coins have procured it. This is just for a little bit extra.
11.
11 is fine. I was going to say they might want to come with you, but they trust you enough. They're happy with the coins, and
They might not when they see where we're going.
yeah.
Well, I did wonder whether we might fractionally overpay and ask for a little discretion.
Yeah. I mean, uh, he doesn't really know. Doesn't really care. He's happy with the coins. You know, there are some people. I don't like the word genuine people, but there are people that just don't care and want to get involved in other people's business. He's happy that
Yeah,
he's got the, it's
I
like,
would have been
look,
looking for someone who looked like they're just, doing their day's work and
yeah,
trying to mind their routes and going up very much as, I am a priest. I just have some business. I'm just trying to find
yeah,
my
yeah,
way. Just to try and make it feel as above board and not interesting as possible.
yeah, yeah, and easily successful with that, and the coins sort of always lubricate and make it go smoothly anyway. So Jasmine, there's no real need to roll here. What is your strength?
15, and I also have advantages on strength checks
Yeah.
through grit.
This is the port, the docks. It's flat. You're not up against any kind of opposition with the water or anything else, and you easily propel this boat um, towards this warship. As you get closer, you see that it is called the Hellhound, and there is kind of the flag is black with this um, crimson gout of flame. The front of the ship has this leaping, uh, one would say, hound of hell, flames coming out of its mouth, rubies, large rubies for eyes. No expense has been spared, and this is a very strange ship. As I say, the hull seems to be made of black iron. I mean, how does iron float? Um, you have you have an idea. If this ship decided just to crash into another ship, it would just splinter it in two. There are oars down below, hatches for oars to come. And there are a number of nasty looking sort of siege weapons, are perhaps oversized ballistas and the like that are on this ship as well. You kind of pull up to this vessel and you are dwarfed by it. I mean, sailing out, you see why it hasn't bothered to try and come to the docks proper. You kind of look up at this ever-growing warship.
Jasmine, on the way rowing to the ship, I assume that she would be a bit in the front and the other two would be passengers in the back. They would have gotten wet on purpose, and she would be laughing about it.
Excellent. Yeah, and I think as we're approaching, I would sort of try and make it as of like have hands visible and look as unthreatening as possible. Not that we would be intimidating in any way, shape, or form, but,
I like that.
but just kind of making that whole sense of
we're not
this
coming
isn't
to attack you.
just just in case.
You can see that there's a couple of they just look like probably sailors, deckhands, and they're kind of pointing and laughing. Very rapidly though, someone clad in kind of a breastplate of black armor, a plumed helm, a bow across there, sort of a gauntlet with, and this is kind of like long, kind of sharp fingernail type gauntlet, sort of cuffs quite heavily one of the sailors across the head, and he just drops to the ground. He pushes the other one out of the way and sort of looks down. What's your business?
Jasmine throws him the mooring line and points to Drago and goes, "He'll tell you."
He doesn't catch it. It just kind of comes down. As I said, state your business.
We have information for your lord or captain, and which I think he will be interested to hear. It's not something we can shout up to you, but we wanted to come and offer this information following recent events that we've been involved in.
Jasmine goes, "Why can't we bleeping shout it at him?"
Because it's not exactly common knowledge and not exactly safe knowledge, he mutters.
Oh, okay.
So if we could, we would ask that you either grant us an audience of some kind that we might share this information and see if it will be of benefit to your lord.
You know who my lord is.
We do. That's why we're here.
Sleeping Lord Arcades. Yeah, we know.
And the information concerns him directly, and we are only bringing it because it is.
So
it may be of use to him.
He doesn't like to be disturbed, and if the information that you give him is wasting his time.
I don't believe it will be a waste of his time, and if it proves to have been, then that's the price I will pay, whatever price is given.
You will have no choice.
I'm sure.
Lower the ladders, and you see that, and it's kind of strange. These chain kind of ladders kind of sort of roll out and come down the deck. Heavy splash into the water. Easy enough for you to clamber up.
Jasmine has taken in the mooring line again and just tied it up on the nearest thing that came in handy, which will be one of the ladder's parts that move upward to the deck. So if they pull up the ladder, they will pull up the boat.
Excellent. Cool. Yeah, and
So you
Will.
clamber up aboard. You find yourself on the deck, and this has got a crew and a half. A lot of the ship hands now are kind of looking at you. You can see there's a whole wash of emotions going across them of who are these? Do they know what they're doing? There are a couple of armed archers that are here. They've got short blades by their side as well. Wait here. We wanted to get you on board before we see what our Lord wishes to do with you. You might be swimming back if you are lucky.
GM, just to say,
Mhm.
if it's okay, I would like to have, prior to us arriving at the boat and having this conversation, would have tried to say to my two companions that we would do our best to not involve and not mention Vigita's name or the Red Masks unless we absolutely have to. Sorry, should have said that earlier, if that's okay.
No, absolutely. One of the things I like about Shadowdark, well, just the way the rules are written, is that they actively want you as a group to communicate. So being able to sort of say, "Oh, just one moment, can we make sure that we did this?" Because when you make mistakes, they can be costly. So doing everything you can, and it's a pressure based game. There's a pace to it. So you don't get into this player paralysis. But at the same point, it is important that that communication and understanding is always there, and I think it leads to a stronger game as well. So moments pass, moments turn into minutes, then eventually a different individual clad with sort of the same breastplate, same plumed helm, same kind of gloves, but no bow, but a great sword across their back comes out and says, "The Dark Duke will receive you. He's not in the best of moods. He hopes that you will be some form of entertainment for him."
We'll try, I suppose.
That doesn't sound any bleeping imposing or threatening at all.
He says follow him, and he kind of leads you around the mask. There's a number of masks here. To the far end of the ship. It doesn't take you down into the ship, but there is what is quite obviously what would have been the captain's cabin is what he's using for his quarters. Whether this Dark Duke is the captain or whether he's just using these captain quarters as his quarters, it is difficult to say. This heavily armoured and armed guard politely knocks on the door in a degree of reverence. He takes a moment. You hear a voice enter. The door is opened and he escorts you in. The interior of this is not like some captain's cabin bedecked beautifully with oak furnishings and fine furs and rugs and display of books and charts. It is more akin to a war room, circular table on which is cut into the table rather than a map upon it. A map of some kingdom. If you cast a cursory, what's the word I'm looking for?
Cursory.
Cursory Thank you. This is why me and Matt are a writing team. Glance, you probably think it's his ex-kingdoms, and there seems to be pieces akin to chess pieces upon it. Beyond that, to the back, you notice that there is no bed in here at all, no place to recline or relax, but there is a large black iron throne set into the back of this chamber, a few large fur rugs leading up to it, and sitting on it is a large imposing figure. Appears to be, one would say, half elven. Um, Definitely elven features, but you get the impression that this isn't a child of a marriage between a human and an elf or anything. You think that this is an ancestry of their very own, bearing kind of features of what would be humankind. Kind of, he is bearded, but his features are elfin. His sharp nose, ears pointed, skin fair. There is both a beauty to him, but also a cruelness that seems to be conveyed in equal measure. Uh, he smiles, and that just makes things worse.
Good.
Is he also wearing that same heavy armor as his main major domo guy?
Surprisingly, no. He's wearing what appears to be robes of sorts, black and crimson, comfortable, allowing him to move. I mean, the throne sort of seems to make him larger than he actually is. Um, but he would stand maybe about 6 foot. But he's in perfect proportion of an elfin shape. So imagine elves tend to be sort of 5 feet. He's kind of an oversized sort of elf. Graceful. So, you have matters to speak with me.
My lord,
I am not
mine.
your lord unless
If
you are pledging fealty to me.
not so much fealty, but we have recently been involved on an endeavor, and we have information which I think may be of interest, and I hope of use to you. Um, and we hoped that it might be of enough value to potentially grant some aid from yourself in return. But either way, we thought it would be of interest and that you should know what we know.
This sounds intriguing. Please, I would love to hear everything you have to say. At this moment, can you all give me wisdom checks, please?
Man,
Let me know if you've got modifiers to these things.
My roll was included with a modifier, so I rolled 13
Okay.
as the end result.
It looks like 13 might be the... Oh dear.
yeah, yeah. So
So the 13 is what you notice is nothing to do with the Dark Lord. It's to do with his man at arms, quite possibly his lieutenant. Excuse me a moment. He's kind of, and it's only you, Jasmine, that notices this. He was expecting more from his lord, almost as if this kind of behavior is very unexpected from him. Of course, Jasmine, it is you that have noticed that, no one else, and I don't know if you're going to communicate that to anybody else. You are more than welcome to.
Jasmine turns towards him and sees this like look on his face that he is not in agreement. I think is how I would read it.
I mean, you get the impression with the 13 that this is uncharacteristic of his lord, the way that he meets people.
Yeah, and Jasmine, the uneducated and uncivilized being that she is, so sort of makes a head movement towards him and trying to get his attention. And this was the heavily armored dude, right? Yeah. And he goes, she goes, "Can you bleeping swim?"
What concern of yours is it?
Well, in case you, like, for some reason in a fight or something, end up outside of the ship, do you think you can swim with all that bleeping armor on? What use is, like, being on a ship and having that much bleeping armor on you? It's like bleeping ignorant of you.
All right. Have you ever been in a sea battle?
I've been in the water.
All right. And where was the closest point to shore?
The docks, where I could go to swimming. Unlike you, you'd be walking.
Where we take the ships, it matters not whether you can swim or not. You will not reach shore. But of course, the bloody work that we do when we reeve, this armor has saved my life many times.
Okay.
Maybe we should tie a rope around your feet and drag you over the ship, under the ship, and see what happens. See how good you are at swimming.
I'm not sure your lord and master would bleeping agree to that at this moment.
No, there's something strange. I could have swore he was not interested in seeing you. I could have swore he was going to give the order for your slaughter or keel hauling. But some change has come upon him.
Well, pay bleeping attention, then I say.
So there's this exchange at the back a little bit, and it's quiet. But Jasmine, you have forced a potential chance for you to maybe overhear some part of that. So just Thorsten and Drago, you can in effect have a re-roll on your wisdom to see whether you notice there's something strange, but hearing that conversation.
Worse. Great. Brilliant. Lovely. Cool.
Thorsten?
13.
13. Yeah, you hear various bits of that, but in particular, um, the fact that he thinks that he's acting out of sorts.
So whilst Drago was attempting a fairly formal introduction and found himself at risk of being added to the crew, Thorsten's going to take a different route and use Arcades' name directly.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks, Arcades, for the opportunity in the audience, but does comment that you seem pensive this day. Is it that you have learned something that disagrees with you?
He smiles and says, "No, not at all. Uh, uh, my plans for retaking my homeland uh, are working in the right direction, and it is perhaps time that I reach out and make allies amongst those of this city. I have been here in my ship, uh, perhaps brooding for far too long, and as I have these thoughts, suddenly, as if fate intervened, they delivered you to it. So, please do not delay. Tell me all you know. I can't wait to hear."
Before we go on, has Jasmine been fully informed about the statue and any information that was in the books about the specific magic? Did we actually look into all the specific magics that the Talloman can do
I
with
think I would have
his?
given you both an update, like going into this scenario, like a précis of everything that I learned from those books.
Did any of those books include DM
Well,
the ability to scry through wax effigies into, or even take over people that he made wax effigies of? Was that in the books?
In slim and subtle ways, depending on the power, absolutely.
So we would have known this going in. Jasmine would have known this with a conversation with his guard.
Mm-hmm.
And Jasmine would like to drop a subtle hint, remembering her other two companions, about
Okay.
that we might not be talking to Arcades at this moment.
And the way the magic works is it's most definitely Arcades, and Arcades will be there, but seeing through his eyes and sort of hinting and kind of almost like a marionette kind of thing, really. You might also be talking with your dreaded enemy.
well, I mean, now what the hell are we supposed to do?
Jasmine basically elbows the bodyguard in the side and goes, "Yeah, there's definitely something weird going on with your leaping lord and master."
It is not my position to say. It's just merely being cordial, I guess.
If the Tallow Man had some influence over the Duke at this moment in time, I fear it would be going worse for us. This might be the subtle beginnings of a, and forgive the reference, a Grima Wormtongue on King Theoden. I feel that we still have more of Arcades than potentially the Tallow Man, and we speak honestly to what we know. And Thorsten does just as much as that and says, Arcades, you are right to be looking for allies within the city as ever, though there are those within the city that have you as a threat and are preparing ways and means to counter you. from here and potentially on your return home too. Your plans maybe being undone even as you create them. You are aware of the Tallow Man, I assume.
Oh, yes, I am. And now the Tallow Man is aware of you all. As he says that, he kind of stares off into a distance for a moment. You see his hands very rapidly begin to draw sigils, and there are sort of sparks of flame, almost the way that you would move a sparkler through as these sigils take flame. Are you going to do anything, or are you going to let him continue with his incantation?
I shout at the bodyguard. Your boss is being taken over by the Tallow Man to an effigy we found in his tower. He's no longer himself. And then I get my sword and my shield off my back and get into a defensive position.
Okay, that's what you do, Jasmine. Drago.
And I purposely pulled my back towards the bodyguard to show them that I'm serious and that I'm trusting him.
Interesting. I like that. There's no
Right.
direct sign that this incantation is going to assault you at the moment. This is this split heartbeat second of a decision.
Okay. This is probably a terrible, terrible, or completely futile thing. I don't know whether the Tallow Man is undead, but I do know that he is able to kind of hide his life essence or sequester his life essence in something else. That being the case, not knowing anything better to do and not knowing whether it's going to have any effect, I would like to cast Turn Undead on him, please.
Okay. Okay, we'll come to that in a minute. We'll get the status of this, and then Thorsten.
Both hearing Jasmine's quick explanation of the situation and Drago beginning his rites, I think Thorsten assumes that this could go badly for the group and makes sure that he's as far away from the group as he possibly can, assuming the worst and fireball.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. So I will have the three of you. Well, no, I mean, Thorsten, you're backing up Jasmine, you're taking a defensive position. So it's really only you, Drago, that is actively doing something. So give us a roll to see whether you can summon enough energy to make this spell work.
And just for my clarification, the DC is 10 plus the spell tier, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. So for this, I believe it's only the 11.
Yes, yeah. And then what's my spellcasting modifier? Am I wisdom or am I intelligence?
Reasonably
They're the same. It doesn't matter.
Wisdom for a priest.
Wisdom for a priest. Cool. Right.
Easy. So the spell washes over him. You are not sure. It certainly doesn't affect the Dark Duke, indicating that he himself is not a minor undead. You probably assumed this anyway. Whether it is that or the sigils that he draws up with his own incantations that drive out this presence, not so much a possession but a subtle manipulation. You see his face and his demeanor change, none for the better, to be honest, of rather than the rather charming tallow man wanting to see the information you were bringing him. You now faced the Dark Duke. He seems to remember the conversations that you had, and there is a seething anger that spreads across his face.
And Jasmine punches the elbows the bodyguard again, even though he can't feel it because of body armor, and says, "See, bleeping told you so."
One moment, he says, no one move. His gestures get wider, the lines of flame thicker. Suddenly, the entire of this cabin's walls basically set alight. The floor, the walls, the doors, the ceilings. Flame. No heat coming from it, though, you will be pleased to know. We are safe to talk now. I do not know whether it is best for me to slay you where you stand so that word of my weakness does not travel beyond this cabin, or whether I should be thankful for you coming to inform me of such. Speak quickly so that I may decide upon this action.
All I would say is that learning what we learned, we came directly to you to share the information. We have no desire in making you an enemy or making an enemy of you or aiding your enemies. Quite the opposite. That's why we're here. I wish we had noticed and more clearly noticed sooner that we might have aided you. But I think maybe I'm
Where
jumping.
did you get this information?
For our previous endeavor was we sought the life of the Tallow Man. He's a threat on this city, and we had been tasked with ending that threat. We tried and we failed, but in failing found out a lot of information. And there is an effigy of yourself in his tower, which I believe from the books and the knowledge that we also acquired on that expedition is how he is controlling you and how he is able to influence and listen. And so it is not weakness, it is manipulation, it is
It
his
is to
dark
be
foul magic.
stopped.
Precisely.
Now that I am aware, I can protect myself. I can be myself. You intend to continue this assault upon him?
If we can. Our first attempt failed and we were unable to breach his safe hold within the tower.
Why? How?
It is inaccessible to anybody who is not, I assume, as he is able to become waxen, and I will describe this kind of pinhole shaft or whatever it is that seems to be the only entryway into this vault.
Yeah, Jasmine pipes up and says, "You need to bleep. You need to be a bleeping eel in order to get to him."
I maybe could help. It is not out of the realms of possibility. I could brew you a tonic that could turn you to air for a small while. It is a difficult task, but it is doable if I have the right ingredients.
How long would this last?
A few minutes,
Well, we're gonna need bleeping 2 sets of those bleeping potions because
Well,
in and out.
this was my thinking. Was the exit is also helpful.
Then too it is. It is not a problem. I have the skills. I just will require the ingredients.
Then, if that is something we can help with, then it is in our interest, and I'm sure you'll agree.
Hmm. He pauses, he sits back down, and he kind of rests his elfin sharp chin upon his fist, stroking his beard. It might not be as easy as you think. I have heard rumours. There is an entity within Ibaihor. She would be able to give you the ingredient I need. But she is elusive. She does not wish to be found at the moment. I have let the rumours pass me by. Her name is Atali. That's Atali. She has an interesting ancestry, for she is the spawn of the four winds. She is, I suppose, an air spirit of swords made to flesh, and she would be by far the easiest and fastest way of obtaining, well, her sigh.
Right.
What,
And
like
you,
a bleeping breath?
Ah, it will be powerful and a key ingredient to being able to turn you into air.
say you're not aware of her current whereabouts.
I am not. I speak with the elements. I know she has gone missing, and there is much talk about her whereabouts. It seems that Ibaihor is a place for people to lose themselves, to hide, to be whoever they wish to be. Uh, I know her fathers seek her, the four winds, Tetrad as they are known. They have agents here already. I have someone I could deal with. It would cost me much, but it is a price I am prepared to pay. If you give your word, you will exact vengeance upon this tallow man if I provide you with the necessary concoctions.
It is our aim and hope, and I, for one, give you my word.
As do I.
We'd bleeping melt him down. For bleeping sure.
Jeez.
He kind of nods, then let us be to it. He begins to pull the flame stuff from the walls, begins to shape it into the air, a large kind of horizontal, vertical ritual circle, strange marks within it, all cast in flame. He takes kind of one of his long nails, runs it across his wrist, his vein, and blood begins to drip from it. He moves it and flicks it into there. My blood as payment. Come to me, Iradisi, and come to me, not as a servant, but as an equal. There is suddenly a heat that fills up this chamber, a heat to match the flame that it is enshrouded in, and a large ball of fire begins to emerge and take form into a glowing female figure, naked, hairless, something of pure heat, no flame, almost as if something had been sculpted from the very suns themselves. She languishes, cat-like, flame-like. My lord, I am not your lord. You like to think you are, she says. You have summoned me. He looks at her. I know that you have others, other masters, others that ask more of you than I, others that perhaps do not ask, they demand, they force. You know me. We have had many times together. I need information. Tilly. You see her face for one moment scowl. If the sun can scowl, it most certainly has, and just has. Her whereabouts, you see through the very flames, you see those that descend down to the very depths through their torches as they dissipate and burn out, and you are the lights of the city, the fires that cook, the hearths that warm and welcome. You see all through these. Tell me, name your price. I will pay it. She says, my lord, careful. You are not the only one looking for her. But you are always have been and always will be my favourite. I can only tell you this, she has taken the form of a mortal, of flesh and blood, and she has changed her name. She is no champion of disguise, though, merely the words, the letters of her name changed to a different form. That much I know. I believe Taylor is the form she has taken. She has decided to hide herself amongst poets, thespians, in the flesh pits of Ibihor. Particular place, a location as you need. Seek out the court of fools, for you will find her there. But once again, as warning, you are not the only that seek her, and they not, and I speak not of her fathers. I cannot say any more, he says, till we next meet. My thanks. And with that, there is an explosion of flame, and the heat suddenly dissipates from the chamber.
Jasmine says, "Oh, she was bleeping hot."
Arcades stares at you. I hope that is enough to give you a lead.
We are off to the theatre, it seems.
As ever, a dangerous place they may be.
And not the only ones looking, but forewarned is somewhat forearmed at least, I hope. Thank you.
Do not thank me. Get the job done. Do not fail a second time.
We will try. We've already paid a heavy price.
Once you
Wouldn't
have,
be the wouldn't be the bleeping second time for me anyway.
once you have the sigh, bring it to me. I will start preparations.
Very well. Thank you.
You are escorted out to the ladder, and there is a look of respect to you, Jasmine, from his bodyguard. Fast reflexes, sharp thinking. I have to say, I am impressed.
I was bleeping Drago that did all the hard work.
Well, best of luck.
Climb down the ladder to the boat.
You climb down, your boat is still there, and
Excellent.
you manage to escape the ship of the Dark Duke back to shore, hand the boat back. The Talaman knows what you look like now.
Yeah.
I mean, if he didn't already, because of Lady Karasiri may have
Mhm.
she may have disappeared, but she may not have. Who knows?
There's nothing like seeing you with your own eyes, or maybe the eyes through someone else.
Absolutely. Cool. Well,
And it's kind of strange as you realise this, your paranoia kicks in and you start thinking that everybody is looking at you. Just everywhere you look, there seems to be eyes upon you.
Jasmine seems to be not noticing this, as if she's used to everyone already looking at someone 6 foot tall with orange spiky hair.
Drago, already hunching slightly to try and reduce his half-orc frame, hunches more. Right then. Thought of fools, I suppose.
Mhm.
Okay. It's easy enough if you ask a few questions to find out about the Court of Fools. The Flesh Pits, another district of Ibihor. It's everything that its title suggests, but also so much more. This is what would be considered the entertainment district of Ibihor, containing everything from fest halls to red doors, which are brothels, to fighting pits, to drug dens, to footlights, which are the theatres.
Mhm.
It is a place that few really live, but many travel to, pulling citizens of Ibihor from all districts to come and indulge in whatever vices or pleasures take their fancy. It is crowded as you can possibly imagine as you walk along, hawkers on the street trying to attract you into their venues. So many different ways of gambling, of gaining wealth or losing it. So many forms of entertainment. There's even a Colosseum here where chariot races go upon. It is lively. It is full of discordant noise, of shouting, of hawking, of singing, storytelling, of different smells, of different foods from across the Shining Kingdoms. People of every size and shape attempting to drag you into whatever entertainments they can provide for you. Are you looking to get distracted? To ease your minds for a few hours? Or are you fixated upon your destinations?
Jasmine would just say and get it bleeping over with. Work
Yeah.
first, bleeping party later.
Yes, Drago would be inclined to agree.
Mhm.
Okay.
Awkwardly distracted by lots of stuff here, but trying not to look at anything and just focus on the job ahead.
So, the Court of Fools. Not the largest of these footlights. It is known as an odium, a small, flat-roofed theatre, circular in design. And it is the kind of venue where there is poetry, um, poetry to inflame the passions, poetry of satire. There's a large amount of ridicule that goes on here and lampooning of some of the more popular individuals. Many free thinkers are drawn to here, for they can speak their minds. And as you come to it, you see that it is, while small, made of a very nice white stone, circular. As you climb the steps up to it and enter, you see that it is more or less just one singular circular chamber. The stage, if you can call it a stage, is in the centre, but there are several steps that lead down to it, forming rings around. This is where the audience would sit, looking down to the centre. Other than that, there is a small bar area to one side and a rather large bronze statue of a quite learned individual, kind of with a scroll, sort of reading it, to the other side. At the moment, at this time of day, there is no words being said. You can see that there are two or three individuals down on the lowest of the steps, closest to the stage. They are having quiet conversations whilst drinking an amber wine. There is someone serving drinks as well. Other than that, it is quiet in here. The noise primarily coming from out in the streets.
Jasmine just stalks down the steps towards the people at the lowest step and goes stand in front of them. Is any of them female?
No, two men. They
The
sort of
person
look up.
serving.
They say, we're reserving these. You can sit next to us if you wish, but we want to get best seats in the house.
Jasmine looks at them and completely ignores them because they're not what she's looking for. The person serving drinks, are they female?
No, another male. They're kind of dressed in sort of togas. Looks like they've made an effort to come here. Are you what you want to be on the stage? Are you what auditioning? What? I don't understand.
I can do some improv if you want to.
Oh, please, yes, we've got a good few hours to wait yet. We look forward to something interesting.
Jasmine clambers on the stage, and without repeating herself once for a full 5 minutes, she starts cursing.
Wow, they are impressed and they have quiet conversations. Do you know what that one actually means? And there's intellectual discussion. They don't seem to be shocked by your words, but they seem to actually be impressed by your vocabulary. So whilst this is going on, 5 minutes of completely cursing, which is a feat in itself. um, um, we move to Thorsten and Drago if you want to do anything in here.
I think Rago, I would go down also to the individual serving drinks and sort of try and pull them slightly away from the performance.
So there's a circular chamber.
Yep.
In the center of the circular chamber is where the stage would be.
Yep.
But it's at the bottom of a number of steps. So imagine like a coliseum, sort of down to the bottom. And that's where the audience would sit on the steps looking down at the stage where Jasmine is performing.
Sure.
On the non-step bit, there's only two other things in this room. There's the large bronze statue to one side, and then there's a kind of small bar to the other. So there's two people that have obviously got here early to reserve their seats that are now watching Jasmine, and then
Sure.
there is the person that is working the bar.
Then I would head over to the bar.
Just to explain it as.
No. Thank you for that. That's cool.
So yeah, you wander across, kind of nods. Would you like some wine?
Hi. I will. But a question first, if I may. Those two gentlemen, I assume, are waiting for a performance this evening. Who's doing their thing?
You're obviously new around here. Haven't you heard
I
our
new to
star
town.
act?
Right.
Star act, Taylor.
Taylor, I see.
She
and-
is beyond description, really. I mean,
worth catching then.
we will be at capacity again.
Okay. So is she? Oh, I assume she's rehearsing and getting herself ready for this evening then.
Well, she's no doubt with Cephalus.
Okay. Then,
you know who Cephalus is, don't you?
Well, as you correctly guessed, I'm actually new to town, so
I didn't
no,
guess you
I'm
told me that.
well, yes. So no, I don't know who Cephalus is. If you would care to enlighten me, that would be great.
Well, he was our star act before she came along. I mean, he was.
No competition there, or is it an amicable collaboration?
It's strange. I have to say. Cephalus was a master of satire. He could make even the boldest warrior wilt in his presence. He could turn the hardest stone-faced killer into tears. His words were unmatched until she came along. She is, it's difficult to put into words, really. She just is. And I fully expected that there was to be trouble, but I don't know, maybe opposites attract, or but they seem to have formed a tryst of sorts, and now they are inseparable.
Well, okay. Well, thank you very much for the information. And what time is the performance this evening?
It was about another 8 hours. It's about midday now, so probably 8 o'clock tonight.
And I assume, and I sort of gesture at the two, they're ahead of the game. But how early do you think you would suggest getting here to secure a spot?
It's supposed to be a special one tonight, so it's going to be a capacity. I should be here by 6 o'clock at the latest, and even then you will probably be outside looking through the windows.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm sure my friends
Which
and I.
we
Well,
still charge for.
good to know. Thank you. Good. Well, thank you very much for your help, and
You gonna buy
we
some
will.
wine?
Yes, of course I am. Just a small cup, if I may, and then I'll
This
be
is
back for more
special.
later.
It is the one that Cephalus requests, and he kind of pours you a small, and it's kind of strange. It's kind of amber coloured.
Okay. I will take it and I will sniff it, but I will not drink it yet. I will pay for
Smells
it.
quite sweet, like a dessert wine.
Then I will.
You pay for it, yes.
Yeah. And I will kind of raise it in toast, and again, don't quite drink it. And then meander back towards
It
door.
doesn't pay you any more attention. As soon as you've kind of paid for
Cool.
it and stopped talking, he gets back to his things. He's not particularly, looking at you.
That's fair. I will still be polite
Yeah.
and bimble off back towards my friend.
As you get back to Thorsten, Jasmine just finishes her set, and there is the two, and they're quite old. These two individuals in there, quite obviously whitewashed togas, looking their very best, and they sort of stand up and they give you that was both terrible and beautiful in equal measure. Such language, such artistry.
Thank you, bleeping kindly. And Jasmine goes down the stage steps and walks up to him and expectantly holds out her hand.
Oh, well, I mean, I've got money
Go on, you
work.
just got a bleeping private performance. Bleeping pay.
Indeed. I like he speaks to his companion. Is this still part of the performance, the intimidation afterwards? I really quite like this. It's kind of audience interactivity. It could catch on, I mean, do you think if I don't pay, it will get worse and she might give me a slap? Oh, I quite fancy a slap.
Do you
Uh, I'm
bleeping
afraid
want one?
I'm afraid I do not have any coins, madam.
Are you going to bleeping drink here if you can't bleeping afford to stay here?
No, I do not have any coins, madam. And he gives you a big wink.
She slaps him.
Oh, that really. I think I might have lost a tooth.
That's double bleeping pay though now.
They count out some coins and give it to you. That's so much fun.
She gives him a backhander and says that one's for free.
Drago and Thorsten, you're watching either in horror or kind of what is going on with this new companion of yours.
Bewilderment, I think, is the word of choice here.
Yes.
It's like this has gone from the sublime to the ridiculous and back again.
This is the Court of Fools.
We may yet be the fool.
So Jasmine climbs up to where her two companions are and looks at them and goes like, "So what we bleeping doing now?"
Well, Taylor is the big act this evening. That's who they're here to see. It's going to be a full house, and it's apparently going to be a special performance this evening. It's at 8. We should get here for 5 or 6 if we want to get a seat. She's probably currently locked away with Cephalus.
Yeah, CEPHULUS.
Bleeping syphilis, isn't that something you can get when you're like
Cephalus, not.
protected?
Yeah, I mean, syphilis is a thing that we should all be wary of in our various ways, but that's not. At least I hope that's not what she's currently locked away with. But an individual who is also a performer, and they appear to be involved in some sort of complicated tryst situation. So the way I see it, we have two options. We either hang about and see the show and then try and corner her afterwards, or we endeavor to find our way into the back rooms and see if we can work out where they might be now.
And
Jasmine, as being the impatient person that she is, will go like, "Let's see if we can bleeping find her, bleeping right away."
That's that feels like the right way.
Since other people are also bleeping looking for her.
Precisely.
and there's going to be a lot of people wanting to do the I know nothing, but I'm a fan after the show.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I think we want a staff-only sign if we can, or some sort of suggestion of where.
This is just a circular room. The whole theatre is that. There's no back rooms or anything. You can kind of see windows. There is kind of a small alley that goes around it that people can sort of peer through the windows to kind of watch the performance as well.
Okay.
No changing rooms, dressing rooms, or accommodation. Single story.
Right.
So she is not here.
No, so she is somewhere else in the Court of Fools.
Or is
this is the Court of Fools, but
sorry, in the district. She's somewhere else in the district.
Mm-hmm. Possibly.
The problem with scrying or sort of that knowledge is time passes, people move.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think we better find out where Syphilis, whatever his name is, where he lives.
Yes. That feels like the next sensible place.
How are you going to do that?
There's a question.
Do our two new friends clearly fans of the Lady Taylor? Might they be persuaded to tell us anything they know that they perhaps shouldn't know?
Jasmine goes, "One moment," and walks down the steps again to the two guys and, "Hey, I can give you another bleeping slap if you give me some information about Cephalus. Would you like that?"
No, the show's over now. You're kind of breaking the muse, the feel of it all. It was great when you were there off the stage and performing, but no, it's a little strange. Anyway, what do you want to know?
Where he lives.
Oh, that's easy. Why didn't you ask? He's Cephalus was big here before Taylor came. He reacted quite strange to it, really. We thought we even took bets, didn't we? We lost a lot of coin. We thought he was going to be enraged, except he was perhaps inflamed with her instead. No, rather than uh, rather than being upset about being upstaged by her, he seems to have fallen for her, and the two of them are nigh on inseparable now, have been for a number of weeks. So my guess is that, well, that they are together in his small estate up in Delirium. It's not quite in Delirium. He likes to claim that it is, but it is on the borders of which he made a fair amount of coin, which is interesting. Someone of his talents could have done much more, but no, he was very loyal and stuck to this place. This place, even at capacity and the height of his popularity, it filled sometimes all of the steps, but nothing like she does. So you know what these poets are like anyway. Normally they have wealthy families, and they live off their mothers and fathers. But he has a nice place up close to Delirium. I can give you directions if you wish. We did go, didn't we, once to see if we could see her, but we couldn't see her.
Yeah, please, the direction would be very much appreciated.
Directions are given.
Is this the same guy I slept before, or is this the other guy?
This is the other guy.
Jasmine opens her arms and says, "Oh, come on, give me a hug."
Don't hurt
me.
She gives him a hug and then knees him in the balls and then walks off.
Wow. Wow. I don't like this audience participation, he says.
In a very high voice.
In a very high voice. Okay. So, as you're moving through the streets, I would like you to give me once again wisdom checks, please. Try and get something good this time.
Great, because that's really going to help, isn't it? Now I'm bound to roll terribly.
Oh. Okay.
15, 14.
So, who got the highest?
I did with a 15.
15. Perfect.
Thorsten and me got 14.
Okay, yeah. So all good. As you're moving through, again, you feel eyes on you all over. But most definitely, you think you're being followed now. Strangely, though, you're being followed by individuals that you do not recognize, but are clad in distinctive looking armaments and armor. Sort of golds and reds, completely different to the Dark Duke, but most definitely these two individuals are keeping their distance from you, but most definitely trailing you.
Would the dark reds and golds be a clue to the Tower Man and the thing and the uniform they wore?
Not his
This is
colours.
not remembering.
No, he
Do we know
uses. Sorry.
Do we know whose colors these are? Because red and gold are usually quite high up in a hierarchy because they're such nice combinations.
Oh, absolutely. This is someone who has money. There's also something about them as well. They're not moving like military men. They're moving more akin to hunters, even though they are got the raiments. These are definitely stalking. I'm going to need intelligence rolls here. This is a difficult one.
Ooh. 4 for me.
Yeah.
Also only 4.
So, Jasmine, was that your 16?
Yeah, with -1, it's a 15.
15 is okay. 15 is okay. This is your narrative agency, how you know this. But the regalia they are wearing is not of this place. And I don't mean Ibihor or the Shining Kingdoms. I mean beyond this. There is a place that people talk about in stories, a place that is elsewhere, known as the City of Brass, a place enshrouded in flame and fire that Ifrit rule. This is the regalia of the City of Brass, the kind of armaments and clothing that would be forged there.
Guys, I think we just bleeping walked in a bleeping fairy tale because the only bleeping place I can place these bleeping guys is, City of Brass.
Right. Oh boy. So, and this is a definite feel of we're being hunted.
Mm-hmm. Not necessarily hunted as if they are going to strike at you.
No, but
Being
there's a
followed.
definite.
You are being trailed, almost as if they want to see where you're going rather than wanting to intercept you.
What didn't we learn that others are after
Yes.
Alia as well?
Yes.
These might be them.
Indeed. So we either keep going where we're going, or we go elsewhere, or we try and
lure those guys in a trap or something, or get rid of them.
Yeah. Do we want to have a conversation with the fairy tale? Or try to?
So they usually interject when they're ready if you don't, so.
Or we could get them, occupied in a certain mishap, or sick the guards on them or something.
There are no guards in Ibihor.
Private Lord's army that's nearby or something. Or we can try and take them out ourselves. Do they look armed and armored, or?
Yes, oh, absolutely. But the bigger they are, the harder they fall, provided you catch them unawares.
Jasmine has an idea. If we are going to fight these guys, she's got quite an extensive knowledge of like alleyways and stuff like that. She will suggest that we will round several corners that are just barely out of their sights. And at one point, she will leave the other two and clamber up onto a roof that she knows has a good vantage point on the corner where these two guys will be going. And then she wants to fire a couple of arrows at them. Because she also carries a longbow.
Mhm.
Or do we just try and lose them? If you know the streets well enough, which that suggests you might.
True, we might try that, but
Yeah, I think that gives us
it's just
a second chance. If we go for the lose them first, if we fail, you're quite right. Let's make it difficult for them.
Yeah.
We'll learn something if we can lose them, if we don't lose them.
Maybe it's a case of if we try and lose them, and then you get up on the roof anyway, and then you've got a clear advantage to see whether they're lost or not, as in whether we successfully managed to lose them. And then if we haven't, you're then in position to give us a height advantage if it comes to combat.
yeah.
Cool. Then we
So
will follow
Jasmine is a local city born. I think both of you were coming from outside of Ib Ahor.
I definitely was.
Yeah. So she has just like growing up there basic knowledge. It's not really specified. It's not like street urchin level or something.
Okay. So what kind of roll would you like to make? I'll give you advantage on this.
I think it would have to be wisdom because it's using practical knowledge instead of like something with intelligence.
That sounds good. So this is an opposed roll. I don't kind of like opposed rolls. You just need to hit a certain DC to evade them. And this is Ibayor, or rather Shadowdark, so it's transparent. So you just need, with the skill they are, 15s to do this. It's going to be challenging, but you do have advantage.
Nope.
Okay.
Take a look point.
You can have a look pointer and re-roll the lowest one if you want. Given to you by Thorsten.
Yeah.
Okay. Nope.
Oof.
As I say, these are, by my pure description, stalking you.
Yeah.
And it's not so much the need to know, but they've been hunting quarry for a long time. And you give it your best. You're doubling backs, you're moving through the alleys, and they're aware of this, and working in pairs, when you split up, they split up. And you find it impossible to shake them off. You only missed it by, because you got 13, didn't you, on the highest?
No, that was an 11.
11.
I got a -2 modifier on wisdom.
Okay, so that's still not a -5. So they suspicious of you now, in terms of you might have been trying to lose them, but they're not fully aware of that at the moment, and they are carrying on following you.
Plan B?
Yeah. Do we want to set up a chance to intercept them? Does it have to be hostile? Would they be worth talking to first?
Yeah, maybe it's worth getting them to follow us into an alley or place where combat can occur, but see if we can't the conversation first.
And at the same time, get Jasmine in a position to
Yeah.
peer over a rooftop with arrow nocked ready.
Yes, that feels like.
You would actively need to tell her not to right away shoot them if you're going to talk to them
Yeah.
first.
We're going to try and talk first to see if there's any information. If it goes badly, then please use all the arrows you wish, but let us try and have a conversation first.
Aww. She pouts and stamps her foot and goes off to the nearest ladder.
I have a distinct impression it's probably going to come to blows, but just in case.
Okay, so leading them down an alleyway where you can have more private conversations. You position yourself, Jasmine, in a good spot. This is what you're good at. These two individuals sort of turn the corner, and you can see they are as suspicious as they begin to look around. And as they move through this alleyway, Drago and Thorsten, you make yourselves known. What is your opening gambit? What do you say or do?
You seem to be following two strangers to the city. If you need directions, I would probably ask somebody else.
Okay, and as you sort of say that, step out of the shadows, you can get a much better look at them. These are humanoid shaped, but you're not entirely sure they are humanoid. You notice that their flesh is black, the way that a branch turns to charcoal. And the way that a branch turns to charcoal, it is also cracked. Within that crack, you sort of see the essence of glowing red and white, like veins up the arms, on their hands, on their face. Their eyes are white, the way that coals, when they are at their hottest, glow. They are wearing helms, say burnished gold, horsehair of the brightest red, looking like flame. The leathers they are wearing are black and reds as well, with gold buckles. They have bows themselves across their back, short bows. One of them speaks, and as it does, his breath emanates heat. It's almost as if an oven or a furnace has been opened. You are skilled. Our Lord will not be pleased with us, eh? Not at all. But maybe conversations are best to be had. Yes, we were following you. We believe you and ourselves seek the same quarry. Attila. They seem to find it difficult. Atali, that is her name. It does not come easy in our tongue, that of the wind over the flame.
And you serve her
Ah,
fathers.
no, no,
Ah,
not at all. The Tetrad, the Four Winds. We serve the flame. We serve Kutamza, a great Ifrit Sultan from the city of Brass. He wishes to find the daughter of the Tetrad. He wishes to woo her.
that could get complicated.
Ah, Love is rarely easy or smooth. Our Lord is benevolent and generous. If you wish to help us, you would be bestowed upon riches or boon or
What if she doesn't want to be wooed?
who knows what lies in the hearts of others. He wishes just a chance to do such a thing.
Okay.
He knows she has fled from her father's. He wishes to offer a new home to her.
Perhaps we might carry a message on your behalf?
So at least you admit you seek the same quarry.
Regardless of who we seek, you have work here, and we have need of friends in this city. So, if we can find this at Atali, I think you said.
Tally.
Well, if we are able to find her, perhaps we can help you.
Now we can rest up for a while. Let it be known, though, that if there is any trickery from your side, if you pass on the message or you colour it with disfavour, our Lord will be unhappy, will be displeased, and as sizable as his generosity, it is matched in equal measure by his wrath.
We have no desire to make an enemy of so powerful a being. And if we are able to locate this person for you and pass on this message, I give you my word, there would be no coloration given. Would it have the form of a letter, or is it simply words you would have us say? And if so, what words would you have us say?
You know that Ku Tamsa wishes to woo court Attila.
And if she's willing, where should she go, or what should she do? Or should she give us word to pass on to you once more?
We have lodgings in the Flesh Pits quarter. There is inn of some repute. Obviously, our Lord does not deem himself to walk the streets of Ibaiho.
Of course.
You know that the streets of the city of Brass are lined with gold, do you not?
We have heard it said.
It reviles me to take steps here.
Then let us help you rest your feet.
We will
You then
wait.
hear a loud, hear a loud thrum, and suddenly there's an arrow sticking in the ground about 10 feet away from the two guys, and Jasmine shouts out, "Sorry, my fingers got tired, but I wasn't aiming at you."
I think
going
that
so
one
well.
is going to be trouble for you.
I fear you may be right. However, we will do our best to help. And as my friend says,
Well,
you seem to have come a long way.
if you can be persuasive, our Lord can be generous.
We will do our best. We will deliver your message as given, and with no coloration either way. And
I did
we will
not
bring
say
back.
either way. And he kind of smiles.
Well, we'll do our best for you.
And well done for spotting us.
It's
We will try harder next time. And with
I'm
that,
sure you will.
they turn and genuinely depart.
Jasmine comes sauntering down from wherever she climbed up and picks the arrow that she spent and puts it back in her quiver, and then casually walks back up to you and asks, like, anything interesting happen?
Well, we now appear to be giving a message to Taylor from a king out of stories who would like to woo her at the earliest opportunity in an inn nearby.
Told you it was a bleeping fairy tale.
It's getting more and more like it every day, it seems.
And we have been threatened by the powers of the City of Brass.
But also offered a reward,
Yes.
depending on how it goes. Oh boy.
It's not as if your day can literally get any worse.
It certainly took a very
Don't say
interesting
things
turn.
like that, Andy. That's not fair. Right.
Okay. So, following forward, as you again double check that you are not being followed, there is this sense of paranoia. You're not sure whether it is the magics, the sorceries of the tallow man kind of looking through the eyes of the crowded streets, or even his magics upon you to give you that sense of anxiety and unease. Or maybe neither. So that's how it works. You make your way from the crowded district of the flesh pits to delirium. Well, what might be considered delirium if the wind blew strongly in a certain direction and the person trying to sell you the property had a silver tongue. But it is a large enough estate, walled, gated, a small property in a set of gardens. This is, even though on the outskirts of the delirium, an expensive property, far more expensive than could be afforded by even the best of poets, really. It seems that poetry in Ibaihor does not pay that well.
So, inherited wealth, perhaps.
What is difficult, the gate is not solid wood, it is bars, and you can take a cursory walk past and then glance through. A number of things catch your eye. They're all actually the same thing. The statue that you saw in the Court of Fools also features prominently within the gardens of this poet, all made of sort of bronze, all sort of shining in the sun. The same individual, the same figure.
Would Jasmine know who this figure is? Her background is acolyte, so
Acolyte. Give me a roll with advantage. You certainly should have advantage here.
it would be intelligence.
Intelligence or wisdom seems to be the best. I'll let you sort of choose whether it's knowledge or whether it's come from sort of books.
Yeah, it would have been knowledge that she acquired through either learning herself or watching someone learn all sort of stuff.
Oh,
Nice. I would even take disadvantage with that roll.
Well,
Yeah.
that's very good, but I think we'll go with this. And as I said only a few moments ago, as if things couldn't get worse, you pay attention to these statues. A deep dread washes over you. For these are the statue of the bronze poet, someone known as Alvixa. Um, Only those that are deeply read and have studied the maddening secrets of sorceries long lost kind of know the true meaning of this. For Ovixa, the bronze poet, is a eldritch entity, a elder god of sorts of madness. It seems that this poet could be a cultist of this thing from beyond. And that is where we will leave it till next session.
I just typed in syphilis in my Google document and it changed it automatically to syphilis.
Excellent.
I mean, sorry, I apologise. I never noticed the similarity. I didn't do that deliberately in any kind of way, shape, or form. Honest.
Believe you.
Okay, well, kind of less shadow darky as in dungeoneering, but we had a lot of that previously. A great chance to explore Ibihor and realise the melting pot of dangers that are here. And
Yeah.
you have met many of them tonight. Making some friends, making some enemies, and uncovering plots within plots, some of which are very connected, others of which might be just happenings. It is going to be interesting because the way I like games to do is whatever you do has repercussions, but that choice, that destiny, that fate is in your hands as players to guide the story however you want it to go. So thank you. There was quite a lot of me giving information out tonight, so apologies for that. I hope it all made sense and you kind of followed it. But you have built up to that moment of decision now, uncovering some information about what truly might be going on. It is late, so we'll do what we always like to do. We'll go around the table and see if there's been any standout moments, favourite parts, interesting bits, etc., etc. And hopefully, if the heat doesn't destroy my computer, we will be back in 2 weeks' time where we will begin to investigate deeper into these mysteries. And who knows, you might even be able to receive the sigh of this powerful entity. So, Natasha, any standout moments, any bits that you enjoyed, didn't enjoy, good, bad, indifferent?
Yeah, basically, if you want me to tune down the slapstick elements of having a chaotic character, please do so. But I'm having a shitload of fun.
No, it's absolutely fine. It will come to a point, quite possibly, that you might be rolling another character if you just random decide we're going to shoot these two people. It's dangerous, the system, the place. I love it, and you're very aware of the dangers that you do. So I don't feel uncomfortable about it, and I can't wait to see what madness you bring. And it was very appropriate that as an acolyte you managed to find out that final bit of information, last thing for that cliffhanger, which was brilliant. So thank you very much with that, and I'm glad you're enjoying your character as well. I think we should just get T-shirts with just beep 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 beep.
She's basically I started her out as like Calamity Jane from Deadwood. But as we started playing, there was a lot of this. I'm not sure about the animated series. I think it's called Arcane. It's based on the League of Legends one. Jinx, the character, she just crept right in. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
No, it's fine. And, thank you. I personally don't mind swearing whatever kind of language as long as it's sort of non-toxic. But we want the video to go out to the widest audience, and we kind of want the viewers to be comfortable as well. And some people are not comfortable, so I really appreciate you kind of taking that
Bleeping,
on board.
yeah.
Bleeping, yeah, no, absolutely. Matt.
Yeah, really nice. Really intriguing. Lots of interesting stuff to absorb, and lots of nice kind of insights into bits of Empire and beyond, which is really nice to kind of get more of the world building side in there as well, which is really cool. No, it's good fun. Yes, and yeah, get a lot of moments of kind of being a bit flummoxed and not knowing what to do, but in a fun way.
Yeah.
And then trying to find ways out that feel like, Drago certainly feels like he's out of his depth at the minute, which is good because that's how I feel. So it's good.
It's been very interesting writing this because I haven't approached it as if it's 5th edition at all. I've kind of approached it more as if it's like a sort of Call of Cthulhu or even Candela Obscura that we're starting to run a lot of now, where the positions that you're in seem to be impossible if you're thinking in that mentality of, oh God, we're going to have to fight this person.
Yeah.
But if you completely put that to one side and go, let me listen to the scene and we'll just react, and we will react, in an appropriate way and role play through this. There are answers. And there's, as a GM, it's interesting getting into the mentality of all the different NPCs, because what's important for you as players to know is all these NPCs have specific agendas and goals. They're not good or bad. They most of them are self-centered, and they want things for them and their way. But if you can provide something that pushes their agenda forward, you technically are going to be fine. It's when you sort of coming against it from a completely different angle, and they know that, and you are no use to them, that potentially it could be awkward. That's where then the persuasions and deceptions might have to come in. But for me, in this moment, this kind of session, it's been very much the puzzle of trying to work out what the NPCs are looking for, and what you can get out of it to further your own agendas moving forward. So it's kind of like a big puzzle, but a social puzzle, whereas rather than a physical puzzle or something else, which I found interesting, especially with Shadowdark, because Shadowdark rules as written kind of feels like it should be a dungeon bash crawler game, but I've really loved the way that it gave that lightness and flexibility to be able to kind of put you against incredibly powerful entities, and for you just to role play your way around them.
Yeah, that's good.
So that's that, and we move to Malcolm.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. Great session. Going to echo Matt's thoughts. World building, developing the city, developing the players within the city. You say a puzzle. I thought it started to become like a chessboard with pieces on it now, and they've got their moves planned, and some of them interact, and we're getting caught between them. Thought it was excellent to have a chance to interact with those agents from the City of Brass before we made the mistake of taking them on, because I think that's one of those instances where it would have gone badly quickly. Yes, the out of your league, the out of your depth kind of perception that we're living in at the minute. But yes, to be able to gain favour with one side to play against another.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
still wanting to see the red hand come back, so has the kind of puzzle in his head of who can help where.
Yeah, no, it's great. And one of the great things that I like about this system is you as players never know. It gives me the agency as a GM that you never know what encounter is beyond your ability to deal with physically. And that's great. You know, in a lot of other fantasy games, it's like, well, all the encounters will be based for our challenge rating. So technically, we can do anything we want because it should be a balanced game. And here, it's like, well, I mean, you know, is the Dark Duke a really drug adult sorcerer with just a single hit point? Could you have just gone up and killed him? You know, were the agents of Ku Tamza, you know, powerful hunters, or were they just sent to go and, you know, and that's really nice, and it I think it puts a tension in the game of you not knowing, but then it also makes you go, well, if we don't know, well, let's see if we can role play with them first, and
Yeah.
it leads to more interesting encounters before it draws into combat. Um,
Mhm.
you know, I think there's certain times when you're going to go down a dark hole to fight something, you know, you're going to have to fight it. It's certainly going to happen with the Tallow Man, you know, at some point. The concept is that you are going to assassinate the Tallow Man, so you know you're going to go and have a fight at some point, and you've got to be ready for it. Um, but doing every
Unless
yeah,
we can get the Lord of the City of Brass to do it for us.
well, I
Perhaps.
mean, there's
Never
swings
know.
and roundabouts, you know. If
But yes.
but like I say, it's a complex puzzle. Can
Yeah.
you persuade her to be wooed? Um, what happens if she says no, I don't want it? Do you start pushing it in that direction anyway to gain an ally from somewhere
Mhm.
else? And that's the beauty of it in terms of you have to seek out your own character's moral codes
Yeah.
of how much do we want this to happen and how far are we going to sell ourselves out to ensure it happens. And I'm finding it great fun seeing how you deal with the puzzle because there's no, from my point, there is no railroading. There's no simple answers to this. It's you take it and move it how you want it to go, and then everybody will act with their own agendas. And I'm really enjoying seeing that happen. Anyway, I think I have frothed on far too much. It has been an absolute pleasure to get back into Times Undreamed of. Um, I'm looking forward to us trying to write this one up. It is very complicated.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
that's going to be a challenge. We're about to launch Red Masks in a week or two on drive through. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But we are a number of sessions behind. After that, there's the large adventure of the Tallow Man to do, and then we will expand the city. I think with this, all of this information, and some of these NPCs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is it's going to be interesting because there's some mythology. I mean, today we've touched on basically another plane of existence, although I don't kind of like the word plane of existence because it smacks of other game systems, which is why I said it is not of this world, it is beyond. Um, so we've touched on yeah, other places as well, which is exciting world building wise. Anyway, please check us out on drive through, please buy our stuff, please give us a like and subscribe. Beg. Do it, don't do it. I just hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you very much, everybody. And thank you, cast. It's been an absolute pleasure. I will catch you all very, very soon. Goodbye for now.
Cool.
Bye bye. Keep those torches lit.
Bye,
Yes,
folks.
Precisely.
I can see that Natasha watches my crazy videos. Keep those torches lit, adventurers. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye bye.